I'm Alice, a black girl who grew up in the poor alleys of the city. My life is nothing special. Every day I wake up early, prepare batches of cakes, and bring them to the market to sell. I live day by day with small change, scrimping every little bit to be able to maintain my life. But that busy life caused me to form a bad habit. I often skip breakfast. Same today. My stomach is empty, but I still try to sell cakes like every day. The intense sunlight made my head dizzy and my arms and legs trembled. I thought I just needed to endure a little longer, but then darkness came. Everything around me disappeared. I didn't have time to realize what was happening. I just felt like my body was light, as if I had drifted away from this world. When I opened my eyes, I found myself in a strange place. A land without vibrant colors, just a dim space with soft light. The air here is so quiet that I can hear my own heartbeat, but I cannot feel the weight of my body. A thick mist hung in space, drifting lazily like white silk strips, causing my vision to be suffocated in the middle of nothingness. Beneath my feet is not the ground I once knew. It was like a giant sheet of glass reflecting the starless sky, stretching endlessly. Everything was quiet, but not a comfortable quiet. It was absolute stillness. No breeze, no sound, just me in endless space. And then I saw someone. He stood there tall and tall with a brilliant aura surrounding him. The light from him is not dazzling but warm, as if the whole universe was breathing with his presence. His every step echoed like the echoes of time, carrying a gravity that made me unable to help but kneel. His eyes are as deep as the ocean, containing infinite wisdom and boundless kindness. But underneath that gentle appearance is an indescribable power. As if with just one look, everything becomes clear. Nothing can be hidden. He doesn't need anyone to introduce him. I knew it was Jesus, a God who doesn't just exist in prayer, but is standing before me, more real than anything I've ever known. "Are you dead?" I stammered, my voice echoing in the quiet space. He didn't answer right away, just looked at me with pity. And then, slowly, he spoke. "There is much to show you, and you must share what you learn." Fear and joy inside me mixed like two opposing currents, swirling together in a whirlwind of emotions with no way out. My heart was beating rapidly, both excited at the magic that was happening and trembling at the responsibility that I could not yet foresee. I stood there, small and bewildered before him, a great being far beyond human understanding. I don't know what I need to do, nor do I know if I'm strong enough to accept what's coming. He said, "This is the beginning where you must learn." His voice rang out like an echo in eternal space, each timbre containing power and truth. He held out his hand, and immediately the space around me rotated. The sky seemed to be lifted, revealing vivid images like mysterious movies woven from pure light. I saw the world I had just left, but not through my own eyes, but as if I were looking down from a higher realm, penetrating its true nature. Familiar roads now appear with invisible cracks. Shadows creep into every dark corner, spreading sweet lies. I see people with lifeless eyes walking through life like moving corpses. They are immersed in illusions, in frivolous promises, in the emptiness of their souls. "Do you see it?" he asked, his voice echoing throughout the space. "The world is gradually dying, not because it has lost light, but because people have forgotten how to see it." He explained that the world is about to face storms of unprecedented challenges. Lies will spread like a fire, consuming the truth, and many souls will be swept into darkness without even knowing it. False promises and enchanting paths will pull people away from their true nature. But in the midst of that chaos, he emphasized that his grace is always present, not for the strong, but for those who seek him with a pure heart. Whoever is steadfast, whoever keeps faith will see the path to light, even in the deepest darkness. I suddenly understood that what he was teaching was not just a simple lesson, but the ultimate truth, a key that leads through the darkness, a fire that illuminates the confusion of humanity. Every word he spoke seemed to be deeply engraved into my soul. Each word was like pieces of light penetrating into my mind, causing me to awaken in the midst of nothingness. I am no longer just Alice, a little girl selling cakes. I have become a bearer of a mission, a keeper of his prophecies. He said, "You are never alone. My people will be sustained not by fragile earthly institutions, but by my eternal power. His voice echoed like thunder in the sky, not just a sound, but also a vibration that penetrated my soul. As the light around us began to change, it did not just fade, but swirled, curling into brilliant streams of energy like sparks writing a sacred message in the sky. I felt a strong pull that not only brought me back to my body, but also instilled in me a new will, an inescapable mission. The next thing Jesus showed me was a familiar world, but now distorted and dark in a terrifying way. The once bustling streets are now covered with a heavy atmosphere. The buildings stand tall but lifeless. The lights sparkle but do not bring warmth. People move around like puppets controlled by an invisible force. Their eyes are empty, their faces expressionless. On their wrists, on their foreheads, or on the bandages wrapped around their arms, I saw a strange mark, a symbol that glowed faintly but carried within it an invisible power. That sign determines their access to basic needs. Anyone who carries it is allowed to go into stores, buy food, and use medical services. As for those who do not have that mark, they are like forgotten ghosts, pushed to the margins of society, living in seclusion in dark alleys or fleeing into desolate lands. He explained to me the seriousness of this sign. Those who accepted it not only exchanged comfort, but also pledged absolute loyalty to the ruling kingdom. They no longer have the freedom to think, no longer have the ability to ask questions. They are controlled by an unshakable system. But amidst the darkness of submission, I see there are still those who refuse. They did not accept that sign, even though it meant being hunted, hungry, and considered enemies. They hid in the darkness, quietly helping each other, sharing every crumb of bread, every little drop of water. They did not scream loudly, did not protest loudly, but their eyes glowed with a strong belief, a belief that could not be extinguished by any power. I was moved by that steadfastness. They are small torches in the dark night, flickering but never extinguished. Tell them this, Jesus said, his voice deep but resonating like thunder into the soul. Faith will be their currency, the only light that can illuminate the path amid the dark nights of doubt. Those who trust in him will lack nothing, even if the whole world turns its back on them. But he also warned about a silent but powerful force, fear. It does not come in a fierce form, but creeps in like a whisper in the mind, like a long shadow on thorny paths. It makes people doubt, makes them tremble before challenges, and ultimately makes them compromise. Many people do not want to accept that sign, but they are besieged by the fear of losing everything: family, home, hot meals, or even their own lives. The choice between faith and survival becomes a knife cut in their hearts. Then, in a moment of weakness, they reach out their hand, accepting that sign without knowing that they have lost their soul from that moment. Don't be afraid, Jesus said. His eyes were as deep as if they were looking into my soul. The enemy's strongest weapon is not swords or chains, but fear that gnaws from within. But remember, my perfect love can banish all darkness. He placed his hands on me, and immediately a magical flow of energy spread throughout my body, as if I had been enveloped in an invisible light, an unbreakable protection. Teach them to rely on me, and I will guide them across the abyss of doubt, through the darkest days. Though the storm roars, whoever holds me tightly will never be swept away. In his vision, I saw groups of faithful believers quietly struggling in the midst of trials. They have no magnificent temples, no ostentatious rituals. They gathered in small houses, in deserted fields, even in dark caves where sunlight rarely reached. But wherever they are, another type of light radiates between them, the light of faith, of steadfastness. I see hands holding each other in prayer, eyes closed but glowing with faith, gentle smiles in the midst of adversity. Not wealth, not power, but love and loyalty kept them together, like rocks that could not be eroded by wind and waves. As Jesus continued to show me the future, I witnessed something both miraculous and filled with hope. Before my eyes, those who refused the sign did not collapse under the weight of suffering. They walked in darkness, but the light of their faith still shone like lonely stars in the dark sky. I saw them hungry, thirsty, needy, hunted, but never subdued. And amidst those challenges, miracles take place not with great omens or resounding thunder and lightning, but like raindrops that silently penetrate the barren ground, nurturing life from suffering. A grain of barley sprouted in the dry land, as if planted by the hands of the Most High. A mother breaks her only cake in half, but each small portion is still enough for the whole family without being too much. I saw a stream suddenly rising from the bed of the rock, giving fresh water to those who were driven from the human world. I saw a man being hunted, hiding in a ravine that seemed to have no escape. But the moment the pursuer arrived, a sandstorm rose and hid him in the arms of divine protection. There was no blinding light, no glorious intervention, but every moment was the tender protection of God. He is not present in the roar of the storm, but in the gentle breath of the cool wind in the dry desert. He did not let his children fall, but protected them with the simplest things, like a father silently pulling a blanket for his children in the middle of a cold night, like his gentle eyes following their every step on a thorny path. These miracles are not as loud as the signs of heaven shining in the sky, but as silent as drops of morning dew seeping into the dry ground. They do not appear with flashes of brilliance or the sound of trumpets, but as delicate moments where God's invisible hand sustains the faithful in the face of unimaginable adversity. That last cake on the dining table suddenly became enough for the whole family. It was a gentle breeze that brought warmth in the middle of a bitterly cold night. Those are the eyes of two strangers meeting each other in trouble and realizing that they are not alone. Those miracles do not break the rules of the world, but creep into every crevice of despair, like fragile rays of light penetrating the thick darkness, reminding that He is always present. Jesus looked at me. His eyes were as deep as the ocean containing endless wisdom. Those who put their trust in me will never be in need. Just as I provided manna that fell from heaven to feed my people in the wilderness, just as I made water spring up from a parched rock to quench their thirst, I will continue to provide for those who trust and seek me. But you must remember, miracles do not always appear in the form of great signs. Sometimes it is just a small cake in the hand of the hungry, a shelter in the middle of a storm, an arm of support. Reach out in the midst of despair. Those who believe in me will be sustained, but they must know how to surrender completely, even when the world before them shows tempting and easy paths. Because the easy path often does not lead to light, but only the winding path into the abyss. However, Jesus warned that miracles are not tools to serve earthly desires or satisfy human greed. He looked straight at me, His voice resounding like the echo of the universe. Miracles are not given to indulge selfishness or bring ease. They are not something to test or bargain with. They are my sign, a light in the darkness, a reminder that true faith will be preserved and nurtured. Those who seek miracles without faith, only wanting to satisfy personal desires, will never see true miracles. I saw some people reaching out their hands not to beg with pure faith, but to demand as if miracles were something that could be exchanged. They demand brilliant signs and great events to satisfy their curiosity or strengthen their status. A man stood in front of a crowd, loudly asking for a miracle to prove his power, but received nothing but silence. Another person, when hungry and thirsty, does not ask with humility, but commands as if God owed them something. But no bread fell from heaven, no water flowed from the rock, because their hearts were closed to truth. Their requests were not answered, because they sought miracles not to get close to God, but to control Him, to serve their own ambitions. And I realized that miracles do not come to those who ask, but to those who believe without proof. He looked at me. His voice was deep but sharp like a sword tearing through the night. Deception is not simply false statements. It is a delicate web, woven of half-truths, of fear, of human desire. That is why deceivers do not need to force anyone. People themselves will walk into the trap they set. He raised his hand, and vivid images appeared before my eyes. I see a force spreading sweet words, promising a world with no more war, no more poverty, no more suffering. But behind those promises is a trade-off that very few people realize before it's too late. People are given a false sense of security, but to get it, they must give up the freedom of the mind, must accept a control system where their every thought, every action is monitored and shaped according to the will of the ruler. The greatest weapon of deception is not force, but seduction. It makes people believe that they are choosing the right path, that they are doing good, even when they are locking themselves in chains. It comes in the form of the things humanity desires most: peace, fulfillment, justice, but a distorted version where people must trade their souls to get it. I saw the bewildered faces of those who had placed all their trust in that system, those who had given up their conscience in exchange for peace. I saw those who dared to question being silenced, those who protested were considered enemies. And then I see those who don't even realize they're living a lie. They go on with their lives, praising a world they believe is perfect, while invisible strings tighten around them day by day. He placed his hand on my shoulder, his eyes serious but still full of compassion. You must warn them. You must help them realize that not all light comes from me. Not all promises bring blessings. Teach them to see through the veil of deception, for only the truth can set them free. He continued, his voice echoing like an oath engraved in my mind. But remember, I will always be by their side. Even if the storm roars, even if darkness covers me, I will still be a strong fortress for those who seek me. No wave can wash away those who stand on solid rock. No darkness can extinguish my light in their hearts. He gently squeezed my shoulder, like a seal of divine protection. Tell them that I leave no one behind. Whoever puts their trust in me will never be abandoned. Whoever calls out to me will be heard. And whoever walks on the path I have laid out, no matter how many difficulties, no matter how many trials pile up, they will never be alone. For I am their shepherd, a stronghold of protection, a light in the darkness. He gently squeezed my shoulder, like a seal of divine protection. I suddenly felt a light enveloping my body, as if an invisible wind was blowing me into another dimension. My breathing was rapid. I felt like I was floating in a strong current that I couldn't control. Everything around becomes dim. The bright light gradually shrinks, curling into vortexes that are pulling me to a faraway place. A stream of energy passed through me, painless but with a profound transformation. I feel his memories and teachings deeply engraved into my soul, as if they have become a part of my flesh and blood. Then suddenly a strong jolt pulled me back. I heard the sounds of people around me, hurried footsteps and panic sounds. The familiar sounds of the market now echoed like a storm, in complete contrast to the silence I had just left. My breathing quickened as my eyes gradually opened, but the images in front of me were still blurry. I was lying on the ground, surrounded by worried and scared faces. A few people put their hands to their mouths, whispering incoherent sentences to each other. What's wrong with her? Alice, please wake up. Is she possessed by a demon? I felt the panic in their eyes. An older woman, her face full of worry, knelt down next to me, her trembling hand gently touching my forehead as if to check if I was still myself. A child nestled close to his mother, eyes wide, looking at me with fear mixed with curiosity. The others stood farther away, as if afraid that if they came closer, they too might be caught up in something unexplainable. The sunlight shines through the canopy, covering me with a feeling that is both strange and familiar. I'm back, but no one here knows where I went or what I saw. And right now, in the confusion and shyness of the people around me, I realized something. They were not only afraid for me, but also afraid of what I might say. But I know I'm not the same anymore. I'm not just Alice, a girl selling cakes at the market. I am a person with a mission. I know that I cannot hesitate, I cannot delay. I must convey what I have seen, what I have learned. For the world is still in darkness, and his light needs to be spread. Tell them that I leave no one behind. Whoever puts their trust in me will never be abandoned. Whoever calls on me will be heard. And whoever walks on the path I have outlined, no matter how many difficulties and challenges pile up, they will never be alone. For I am their shepherd, their stronghold, their light in the darkness.